T, welcome back to JT Talks Jobs. I'm so excited to have you all here today. We are going to be talking about probably one of the most popular subjects that we're coaching on at Work It Daily, which is tips for job search during a time of social distancing. I have 3 specific tips that I'm going to be sharing with you today. But before I get started, I want to do a little housekeeping. First of all, this is recorded. You'll be able to watch it afterwards. In fact, if you don't subscribe to our YouTube channel, that's a great place for you to be able to subscribe in case you miss any of our live sessions. So I want you to really close everything down. Give yourself these 45 minutes or for however long you can stay with us here today to really just listen, because job search is not rocket science. It's not brain surgery, but we weren't taught this stuff in school. And so it's very important that you take the time to let this all sink in, especially when it comes to remote job search, virtual job search, whatever you want to call it these days. This topic is very timely, but I really want your undivided attention for it so you can get the most out of it, okay? And the second thing I want to tell you is just a little cheerleading for you. Good for you. You're here, you're present, you're working towards this, and you're going to see at the end of this presentation why I can tell you right now, you have the potential to be different. You have the potential to be in what's called the 3%. So if you want to understand what would make you part of the 3%, stay to the end, because I'm going to show you some amazing science around that. All right? Awesome. And then the last thing I want to tell you about housekeeping, I do a Q&A session at the end of this. I don't talk the whole time, and your questions are super valuable. The way you ask a question in this session is to put the word question in all caps first, followed by your question not in all caps. However, please save those to the end. We're not going to look at those questions until I say it's question time. So again, this is your chance to sit back, relax, take it all in, connect with one another in the chat, and then I will open it up for questioning, okay? All right, housekeeping is out of the way. So just so you know, today's session is sponsored by, drum roll please, the Work It Daily Job Search Summit, backed by popular demand. You will see the link here today. We are doing our second Job Search Summit after we had an unbelievable response back in July. The Job Search Summit is next Tuesday, August 18th. It's a day-long boot camp. It is amazing, please, and it is only $10. So if you need to jumpstart your job search, if you really want to feel like you understand everything and you can nail it, this is the class for you. The energy is insane. The people that attend are awesome. And when you sign up, you get access to the recording for 7 full days afterwards. So even if you can't attend live, sign up for only $10 and we will give you access to that live stream, that recording for 7 days, plus all our templates, plus all our tutorials. Check out the link, okay? All right, there's the sponsorship. Let's talk job search tips in a crisis time. So first thing that I need to make sure that you all understand is that online job postings right now are getting flooded. So for companies used to, in a time of low unemployment just before this pandemic hit, companies would post their jobs everywhere. They post them on multiple platforms. They were doing everything in their power to get people to apply to their jobs. They were proactively reaching out to people. Now it's a different story. If they post a job, they get inundated with applicants. In fact, a lot of companies are starting not to post their jobs, and I've talked about that on this show before, which creates something called the hidden job market, which means they're hiring, but they're not posting them publicly because they can't handle the overwhelming number of responses. They can't respond to everyone. They can't deal with it. It's just too stressful for them. So they don't tell anybody about it. They post the job maybe on their careers page of their own company, and they share it internally, and they let people know you can refer someone in. So keep that in mind. There's a lot less jobs posted, but it doesn't mean companies aren't hiring. They just can't handle the overwhelming number of applicants. Now, what does that mean for you? If you're applying online right now, it's not enough. You can't just apply online and hope that you're going to get picked out of the crowd. If there are thousands of people applying, the chances that you will get selected are so slim because the applicant tracking system is designed to screen out the majority of people. That's why people are saying to me, I'm applying to hundreds of jobs and I'm not hearing back. Right? Because if you're not an exact fit, and if you don't somehow get through the ATS, you are not going to be contacted, even if, right? There used to be, okay, maybe 3 candidates like you. Now there's 30. So the online system is not the right way for you to look for work right now. It just isn't. And I know a lot of people hear that and go, oh, JT, but it's so hard. Listen, we're going to talk about tips today that you need to understand. If you want to get hired, if you want to get paid thousands of dollars, if you want to find your dream job, you get out what you put into it. And you can do this. It's not rocket science or brain surgery, but it is going to take more than just applying online. I cannot stress it enough. So I'll tell you right now, if you're here and that upsets you and you don't want to hear anymore and you just want to keep applying online, then you don't need to watch this show. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's because I know for a fact, and so does everybody at Work It Daily, that does not work, especially in a pandemic. So rip the Band-Aid off. Deal with the reality. We've got to go beyond the online application process. So let's look at 3 tips that can help you do that, okay? All right. First of all, you will notice a theme about all these tips. It is about getting noticed. And getting noticed requires you to connect with a human being. So I did a TikTok recently because somebody commented and said, how do I get companies to contact me? You don't get a company to contact you. You get a human, you get a person to contact you. So your strategies have to be around connecting. This is why you hear all the time, 80% of all jobs are gotten via networking. Your network is your net worth. We say these things to you all the time. It's because human beings get human beings jobs. So when you apply online, you're not applying to a human being, you're applying to a technology, to a computer system. And it is so easy to get tossed. If you want to get hired, especially right now, you need to connect with humans. And that's what these 3 tips are about, okay? So let's talk about tip number 1, going around the ATS. If you see a job, first of all, don't bother applying unless you are a 90 to 100% match. Because if you are not an exact match, you will not be considered. Now notice, I didn't say 90% or higher. If you're 110, 120, 150% match, you won't get contacted either. This is sort of like the story, the fable of the 3 bears, right? The 3 bears, the porridge is too hot, too cold, just right. The bed is too big, too small, just right. All of that kind of thing. Same thing here. The technology is built to only pick the people that are just right, which in this case is the qualifications, the criteria the recruiter is told that the candidates need to match. So you fill out all your application online. And by the way, always fill in every field, never skip a field. Skipping a field can actually get you eliminated. You fill in all your fields, but then on the back end, which is something you can't figure out and no gaming of the system can do this for you, they're saying, okay, only show me the people that have this, 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 and this. And that's what's happening. So you've got to get around that system. You've got to talk to a human. Now, the way that you do that is by trying to find the recruiter or the hiring manager for that open position. So in some cases, when they post the position, it tells you who posted it. In other cases, you're going to have to do some due diligence. You're going to have to get on sites like LinkedIn and look for the people that work at the company and see if you can figure that out. And what you want to do is customize connection requests to these individuals. You want to ask them to connect with you and then say, I'm a huge fan of the company and, I want to be able to share the story about why I'm excited about this opportunity. You've got to get in touch with a human. So understand that people that are getting jobs these days aren't just applying online. They're going that added extra step of trying to find somebody that they can connect with at the organization using online tools like LinkedIn. Now, in the past, and these are tools that I'm always coaching people inside Work It Daily to use, I've told them about a couple of free resources. One free resource is called recruitin.net. So it's the word recruit with an IN on the end, .net. This is a site that lets you search for people at a particular company. And the reason I encourage you to use recruitin.net is that LinkedIn, the free version of LinkedIn, limits the amount of searches you can do. So if you start doing too many company searches when you're in job search mode, it thinks you're a recruiter or somebody gaming the system and it wants you to pay. So it's going to shut your searching down. But that doesn't happen on recruitin.net. Recruitin.net will search through Google and pull all the LinkedIn profiles together in a list that you can then go through, and it doesn't impact your search results on LinkedIn so that you won't get blocked out. So that's one tool. The second tool you want to use to go around the ATS is a tool called hunter.io. And I'm sure there's other sites like this, but hunter.io is a site that will let you help figure out what the email addresses of these people are so that you can email them directly. So if they don't, respond to your connection request on LinkedIn, you can still try to find their email address and send them a quick note and say, hey, I really want to share my story with you, which we'll get more on in a minute. But these are the resources. Now, you're saying, oh, JT, that feels so pushy. It's too much. Listen, you are a business of one. You're going to hear me say that a lot. You are a service provider who is responsible for marketing themselves. Like it or not, they're not just going to come to you. So you've got to be able to realize, hey, it's not rejection if they don't respond to me. I just got to keep going. I got to just keep on trying until I connect with somebody. All good salespeople know this. It's a numbers game. And so the more you reach out and the harder you try, the faster you're going to get the results you're looking for. And then you'll be done with your job search. So think of that as the incentive. Do more of this now. You'll get through the process faster. All right, let's look at tip number 2. You need to put more personalization into your cover letters and intro emails. Okay, so in times like these, there are, as of last week, 55 million people have applied first time for unemployment benefits in the last 3 or 4 months. To give you an idea, the Great Depression, which is written about in every major US history book, had 15 million people. This is a big deal, and it means that there are lots of people applying for jobs. So if you're grabbing that standard cover letter or, borrowing somebody's cover letter and just using it, it's not going to work for you. To stand out, you have to customize. So customize means telling a story that's very unique to you and the employer. I don't want to hear about your success at your last employer. I don't want you to recap all the great accomplishments that are on your resume. That's what your resume is for. I want you to tell me a story about how what we do is fantastic. I don't want you to say, oh, I hear you're the greatest, or I'm so impressed with you. You're really good at this. They know that. Instead, I want the story of something that taught you in your own life that what they do is important. That storytelling gets people's attention at hello. It disrupts their mindset. We call it the disruptive cover letter. It's one of the biggest techniques that we teach inside Work It Daily so that people can do that personalization and be able to connect with employers. And I love it. Every day people say to us, recruiter called me and said, best cover letter they've ever read. And so once you start to understand how to tell your stories and to personalize them more, not only will you be more excited. So when I go back to that first tip about reaching out to strangers to try to connect with them at a company, well, if you're excited about telling them a story about why you think they're awesome, if you've got a personal story or personal experience with their product or service, that's a really valid reason to get excited about reaching out to them. That's going to make you feel less insecure about it. You're going to want to tell your story. And this is what happens. This is how we transform job seekers, because they pull these stories out of themselves and they go, this is a really cool story. I want this employer to know. If nothing else, I want them to know why I admire them. I've got a really good story about it. But you know what happens? The recruiter or the hiring manager reads the story and goes, oh, this person gets us. So whether it's your cover letter or your intro emails, any way that you can personalize it so they know that this isn't just a copy and paste job is very, very important these days. Otherwise, you're going to get put in the no pile. All right, and here's my third tip. You need to prepare for video interviews now. I know this sounds crazy, but people usually start preparing for interviews after they get an interview. Not good. Interview prep doesn't take an hour. It takes time. You need to really think about your answers and how you're presenting yourself in these interviews, especially if it's a video interview now. Everybody needs to be comfortable on a Zoom interview. This is not going to go away. Recruiting and HR groups, we're reading the trends. Even when we get a cure for this pandemic or we get a vaccine, still you're going to see most recruiting now happen virtually. They're not going to go back. This is just too convenient. And you know what's convenient about it? They can say, oh, I got your application. Can we get on the call today? They don't have to schedule a time for you to physically come down to their location, which means the speed up of you having to be ready for an interview could be instantaneous. You don't want to say, oh, no, I need a week to prepare for your interview. You won't get the job interview. They'll give it to someone else. So right now, you need to be doing interview prep. And interview prep in our world is preparing for something called behavioral interview questions. We've talked about these many times before on the show. Behavioral interview questions are open-ended questions they ask you, like, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your weaknesses, your strengths, your greatest success, your greatest failure. What kind of manager are you looking for? What do you look for in an employer? They ask you all these big questions because they want to get inside your head and see how you answer them. And it's very important that your answers be succinct and have the right balance of information. So first of all, they should be very logical in the way you answer. You don't want to be all over the board. If you're one of those talkers and you're all over the board, that's not good. Also, you don't want to be so nervous that you're barely saying anything. You really have to be prepared with these questions. And the only way to do that is to write out your answers and study them and get comfortable. This takes time. So if you've just started your job search or you're in your job search now and you haven't done any interview prep, you know what you need to do when you leave this session. You've got to start getting resources on that, because It's already hard enough to get a job interview. You don't want to blow it. Okay, going to say it again. You are a business of one. It is up to you to create that connection, right? Create, connect, and present your services. You've got to do these things. Nobody's going to do it for you. Technology, everyone thinks that technology is supposed to make it easier. It's actually made it harder because you still need to talk to a human being. You still need to connect with them. So as you saw in tip 1, it's about going around and actually finding people to connect with. Tip 2, it was about the personalization of how you reach out to them so that you stand out and get their attention. And tip 3 was about preparing for those interviews so that you really make a good impression so that you can move forward. These are the things that will make all the difference in the world in your job search right now, in a time of social distancing, in a time of highly competitive, job search. It's just so many people. And this is how you actually can stand out. Now, before I get to the questions, if you stayed to the end, I told you how I was going to show you that you could be in the 3%. Here is a fascinating study. 97% of job seekers, read that, 97% give up too soon. And here's why. This is a study that really blew my mind. They have figured out that there are 4 steps to emotional change. If you want to succeed in job search, you have to get to a place where it doesn't scare you, it doesn't upset you, it doesn't intimidate you. I'm not saying that you have to love it and want a job search all the time. What I am saying is you have to get to a place where emotionally it's not negative. And I've been doing this for 2 decades, since 2001. I left HR and recruiting and became a career coach in 2001. And I will tell you, job search always starts from fear and frustration. And it's because school taught us everything except how to get a job, except how to build careers and land our dream jobs. And this is why we're so stressful about it. So in order to not be stressful about job search, you have to go through the 4 steps of emotional change. This is fact. Now, the first one is uninformed optimism. So people are like, yeah, I'm going to go look for a new job. I'm going to get out of this situation. I'm going to find a new job. They very quickly get to number 2. And this is where 97% quit. Informed pessimism. So they start looking for work and they don't get results. And now they feel embarrassed. They feel frustrated. I hear, oh, I'm getting rejected. Something's wrong with my resume. Something's wrong with my LinkedIn profile. I don't know what I'm doing. This is so hard. I'm already so busy. This is so stressful. I don't enjoy it. And by the way, this applies to everything. This is the same reason that 97% of people don't get fit, because they start doing exercise. Oh yeah, I want to be fit. And they start doing it and they're like, oh, this is hard. And my muscles are sore and takes extra time out of my day and I don't enjoy it, right? So they quit. Well, anytime you start to get to that place, you need to understand that little window is temporary, but 97% of people quit. So while there's so many job seekers out there, you all deserve credit, because the fact that you're here right now, taking time out of your day to listen to techniques, tells me you have the chance to push past and get to the 3rd level. And all it takes is consistency. Because if you work at it every day, hence the name Work It Daily, if you really commit to learning a little bit every day, that fear and that frustration and that anxiety, it goes away. And all of a sudden you get to informed optimism, which means you start to have little wins. You start to actually see results from the things that you're trying. And as soon as we get that, as soon as we get through that informed pessimism and we start to have a little win and another little win and another little win, boom, you will get there and you will get to completion. And this is when the emotional change hits. And there isn't a single job seeker, especially in the Work It Daily program, that doesn't go through this. You're not going to end up on the other side until you have enough skills where you stop being scared, frustrated, and upset about your job search. You've got to push through. So good on you for being here today and sticking with this. And I know that sometimes this stuff, you hear it and you're like, right? Because you're in the informed pessimism phase. Here's the good news. It's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. Just stick with it. Keep learning, keep growing, devote yourself to becoming better skilled at job search, and you will hit informed optimism. And when you do, everything changes. It's like law of attraction. I can't even describe it. Everything changes. So you want to jumpstart that? What did I tell you? The Job Search Summit. We had hundreds of people in July. The energy was infectious. We spent 6.5 hours together online. People never left. They got on, they were chatting with one another. We taught people exactly what to do on their resume, exactly what to do on LinkedIn, exactly what to do on their cover letter, how to prepare for interviews, and how to network. We gave them all the templates, all the tools, and then we gave them the recording for 7 days so that they were really inspired. You have 7 days after that to keep using the tools and templates to jumpstart. It was incredible. Every single day, people are messaging me, especially on TikTok, posting on TikTok that they got an interview, they got a job offer. One guy literally has a conviction in his past, was struggling to get through it many years ago, was struggling to try to get a new job, no luck. And with our techniques, he literally in an interview got a verbal job offer on the spot. So these stories keep coming in. You can be in the worst of places, but if you will absolutely study up and kickstart your job search, you can get past the informed pessimism to the informed optimism. I am not kidding you. And that's what the Job Search Summit is all about. So I know the team is sharing the link. It's next Tuesday. It's less than a week away. Next Tuesday, the 18th of August from 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm telling you, it is so worth it. Only $10. $10 reserves your seat. You'll get the recording if you miss it. You get all the tools and templates, everything, $10. So please come join us. We really want to have you there. If you missed the last one, you don't want to miss this one. Okay? Awesome. All right. Listen, one day, 6.5 hours. I promise you, we're going to get you there. I really hope you check it out. And with that in mind now, we're going to move on to the question phase, like I promised. So get your questions ready. I'm going to stay with you all the way for another 25 minutes here. So great opportunity. If you have a question, remember there are no silly questions. There are no dumb questions. I answer the same questions over and over again. Don't be shy. This is your moment, okay? All right, let's take those questions. So I'm going to start with Erica over on YouTube. After you make a connection, how do I follow up? This is what I struggle with. Oh, I totally get it, Erica. So first of all, good for you for reaching out. If you get somebody at a company that you want to work for to connect, you want to thank them for accepting the connection request, and you really want to focus the conversation on something, a shared interest, something that would be of interest to the two of you. So let's say you both went to the same school, or you have the same certification, or you're in the same background. That could be something that you could reach out and ask about. Or if you have a passion for the company, maybe there's something about the company you would love for them to share. So, I'm a fan of your company and I see that you're doing this. Are you working on that? Tell me a little bit more about it. Or you can even say, I'd love to hear your career journey. How did you end up at XYZ company? And, what do you think it takes to be as successful as you are in your field? People love to talk about themselves. Give them a chance to connect and share some information with you. Then I'll tell you, without even trying, the natural dialogue back and forth between the two of you will lead to the point where you can ask about the company and what it takes to get hired there. You're not asking them to introduce you. You're asking for insights on what it takes to stand out and get hired. But that will come out naturally once you've started talking about things that you have in common or subjects of shared interest. Okay? So you got to work on that for sure. Let's see. Question is, what are your thoughts on union job searching? Well, unions are around for a reason. They're there to protect a group of people. If you're in a skill set where there is a union, now, if anything, is a time where unions are really protecting the rights of their workers. So it can be a good opportunity for you to be able to leverage the power of the union. On the flip side, sometimes people aren't congruent with what the union is proposing. And then you have to ask yourself, do I want to be a part of it or not? For each person, it's really individual. I'm not opposed to unions at all. My husband's a pilot. He's part of a union. That union helps to protect his rights, and that's very important. So I understand and I respect that. But I think in each case, it's unique. Let's see. Question here on LinkedIn is, do you have any advice for getting a federal job? Okay. So in times of crisis like this, everyone starts to look at government jobs. And I understand why, because we assume there's safety there. So please understand there is an absolute surge of people looking for federal jobs right now. If you thought it was competitive before, it's 10 times more competitive now. It's not to say that you shouldn't go after it. I just need to manage your expectations. I will tell you, over the years, people have asked us to build out modules that work at daily on federal job search, and I won't do it. And the reason I won't do it is because there are some really wonderful resources already out there. So why reinvent the wheel? So if you go search on the internet for federal job search help, there are several sites that teach you about it. What you're going to learn pretty quickly is that there are some hoops you have to jump through, some qualifications that you have to meet. And a lot of people think, oh, it's the government, they're objective, there's no referral. That's not true at all. There are a lot of positions within the government that actually never get posted that are done via referral, and people don't know that. And this is why I encourage you to go research these federal job sites so that you can learn more about what it takes to get hired. There's all sorts of steps that you have to jump. There's like a first level application you have to get through, then a second level application you have to get through, and it's going to take you multiple tries to get hired. Nobody gets it in the first try. So that's a reason why you're also, if you really want to get a federal job, this isn't a quick and easy thing to do. It's an absolute commitment on your part, and you should expect to be searching and building your job search skills for at least 2 years in order to get hired. So manage your expectations, because for a lot of people, that's what they want because it's job security, it's pay dirt, right? But it's not for everyone. And again, you've got to manage just how long it's going to take you to find that federal job. Okay, Katie on YouTube says, if you applied for a position, communicated with the recruiter, and didn't get an interview, is it okay to contact the same recruiter in the company if they post a similar job? It is, Katie. If you talk to the recruiter, what you want to do is reach out and say, hey there, I hope you're doing well. I saw the XYZ job posted. It seems really similar to the last job. I didn't want to stuff your application inbox, so I wanted to check with you first and see if you think it would be okay for me to apply. Do you think I'm a fit since we chatted before? So that way you're being respectful and you've got a valid business reason for reaching out to the recruiter. And then the recruiter can tell you, oh yeah, actually you'd be a fit for this, or no, we're looking for a different skill set than yours. But it's a great way to show respect and continue to build that relationship with that recruiter. So you should definitely reach out, and you should use that framework as a reason for contacting them. Wonderful. Rebecca on YouTube says, please suggest the subject line and content of an email conveying cover letter and resume. So Rebecca, it's going to depend on who you're reaching out to and what the company is, right? So understand that you need to you'll build your skills in customizing this. But if I was reaching out to a company, I would say the subject line might be something like a story to share, or I'd like to share my story, or a story for you, ... And then in the email, I'd say, dear so-and-so, enclosed is the story of why I feel so deeply connected to your brand or your mission or whatever. Because whatever story you're telling in that cover letter, that's what that one line should hint to. Thank you so much for all that you do. Sincerely, so-and-so. You want to keep the email really short and just hinting at the fact that they should open the cover letter and read it. If you write something too long, they won't bother. Also, if you're doing this through LinkedIn, you do not send your resume. Your LinkedIn profile is your resume. You only send the cover letter. If you're doing it by email, yes, you send the cover letter and the resume, but you only mention the cover letter so that they open it up, okay? And the other thing I just want to mention really quick, although this wasn't the question, folks, when you're sending documents to hiring managers and recruiters, please label the documents. Don't label them cover letter and resume. So you should label, the cover letter, why I feel connected to XYZ Corp, and then dash in your name, something like that. So that way they see it and they see your name. And then on the resume, you would put, like, let's say you're a project manager, project management specialist, dash and your name, right? Or receptionist, dash in your name. So label the job title that you are with your name on it. This is very important because they look at the documents, both in ATSs and via email. They look at the titles and it helps them know what to open. So please make sure that you do that with your documents. Okay, David over on YouTube is asking, how do you know which is the correct hiring manager at a large company? Well, David, if they don't have it listed directly on the job posting, you're going to have to do some digging, right? So what I would do is try to find the department and try to find somebody that has a more senior job title than the job title of the job that's posted. I would ask them to connect and say, hey, your profile came up when I was researching the company and I have a quick question. Can we connect? Then the person connects with you and says, thank you so much. I'm actually trying to find out who is the hiring manager for this role. And you would show the link. I have a story that I would love to share with them about why I feel so connected to the brand. Would you be able to point me in the right direction? Right? That way, again, you're hinting to the story. You're giving them a reason to check out your LinkedIn profile. And if they like what they see, they'll probably forward you to the hiring manager or let the hiring manager know. So that's one way that you can do it. You would probably do that multiple times, right? You would try to go find 3 or 4 people and do that same thing in hopes that at least 1, maybe 2 would forward it along. And again, you're hinting at that story. So you're not going to do this until you have that really great story lined up. All right. Great question. These are all great questions, by the way. You guys are on fire today. I love it. Nancy says, what's the best way to write a resume for a career change in this job climate? So transferable skills, Nancy. You really have to have the skills that you know from your previous work will apply to the new work in the top fold of your resume. And then you need to make sure that the bullet points, the quantifiable accomplishments in your work history tie to those skill sets as well. You have to have that synergy. Also, I'm going to be really honest with you. If you just apply online, no one's going to contact you. Harsh words, but hear me out. In this market, recruiters believe they're going to get people who have the existing experience. They're not going to try out somebody who's never done a job before. So you're going to get dismissed if you apply online. Now, does that mean you can't change careers? Not at all. This is actually a great time to change careers. And you're saying, but wait, JT, what do you mean? When you write a really amazing disruptive cover letter about the story of why you are passionately switching careers, why you now know this is the career direction you want to go in, stories are infectious. They're inspiring. They can make a recruiter say, wow, this person really gets us. What they lack in experience, they make up for in enthusiasm and no bad habits, and they're not bringing any luggage with everything that's gone on in this pandemic. So people are changing careers all the time right now because they're bringing fresh ideas, fresh eyes, and a positive mindset to a new environment. But it doesn't happen online. It has to happen through the disruptive cover letter, the storytelling, and the connection. So you got to get out there and make that happen. It's far more important than the resume. All right, Steve over on YouTube says, I have an in-person final interview tomorrow with a hiring manager and a VP GM. What are they looking for, and any advice on how to make the great final impression? Absolutely. So when you get to the final point in an interview, folks, they're down to a few candidates. And I always tell you this, but it's important to remember it. It's like a bowl of apples. All the apples look delicious. They're all worthy of being eaten. But in that final moment, they're going to have to just pick one that they feel fits a little bit better. So please compliment yourself for already getting to the final stage. That's a win in itself. On that day, they might just decide they need, one that's an apple that's a little greener or a little redder or a little bit larger, a little bit smaller. You never know. And so you don't want to try to oversell your skills at this point. It's really more important that you listen because this is their final stage. This is pretty intense for them. And what you want to do is the questions they're asking, you want to think about how you can justify the cost of choosing you. How can you save or make them enough money to justify the cost of picking you? Now, each person you interview has a different reason for why they would select you. And they're going to pick you if you can make their life easier. So you want to listen very carefully. What's the hot button for each of them? What questions are they asking? Why would they ask that question? How would that relate to their job? How I do my job relate to their job? And how would I make their lives easier? These are the kinds of things you want to think about and respond to. And even in the interview at the end, when it's your turn to ask questions, you're going to want to ask questions like, can you each tell me how this job that I would be doing impacts your job? And what's most important to you in a candidate so that you know they're going to do the job the right way and make your life easier? Think about that. Now you're really getting to the heart of it. You're telling them, I get it. My job is to make your life easier, not harder. So what's it going to take? Right? And each of them will probably say something a little different. And then you can give them feedback and say, that makes sense. I did that in this situation. I did this in that situation. So instead of telling them how great you are, you're asking really insightful questions that will give you the opportunity to share your experience and validate the fact that you will make their lives easier, that you will save them money or make them money and justify your cost. Okay? Good luck. You got this. Enjoy the process. Make friends. Ask great questions. All right. Over on LinkedIn, we've got a question. It says, I've been applying to numerous companies through LinkedIn and I've not received any responses yet from the recruiter. Day by day, I'm getting depressed. Please suggest some good practices. So again, if you go back through the earlier session today, applying online, even on LinkedIn, it doesn't mean anything. It just too many people are applying to these jobs. So I think my first question is, for every single one of these jobs that you applied to, how many people did you reach out and connect to at the company? Was it at least 5? At least 5? And how many of them connected and then you reached out and shared your story? If you didn't do any of that, then this is harsh. And I feel like I'm being really hard today, but I also feel like I know people need to hear it so that they'll move forward. If you've just been applying on LinkedIn, you've essentially not been looking for work because everyone's doing it. You have to go beyond that and connect with human beings through storytelling, through connection requests, and through being prepared for those interviews, as I've said earlier. So those are the tips. They're tried and true. They work. I know there are some Work It Daily members on here. They will validate that for you. I know they'll share it in the comments. You just got to do more than that. It's not enough to apply online. It's just not enough. You got to do more. All right, LinkedIn. Is it too late to career transition at 40 when you've been in the same industry for 13 years? I'm in the consumer services industry, but would like to transfer into marketing or advertising. No, absolutely not. It's never too late to switch careers. It's not a quick transition, and it's not I'm just going to get a new job transition. You're going to have to lily pad your way there. What do I mean by that? Well, you're going to have to take a job that starts to get you into that field and then work that a little bit, gain some skills and take another job and go from there. But the best part about it is you've got years of experience under your belt. So this isn't like you're just starting out and you don't know what you're doing. Time and again, I've seen people in their 40s switch careers and in a matter of a couple of years be right back where they were and even higher because they leveraged their basic knowledge of what it takes to succeed and applied it to the new industry. Now, the one thing I'm telling you, as I said earlier, you're going to have to connect the dots and you're going to have to network like crazy and get people excited about you and the fresh energy you bring. So you're going to have to work on your branding, but absolutely never too late. Never, ever, ever. Elizabeth on LinkedIn says, working on my resume, so at the moment it's a work in progress. Should I wait to apply for jobs until I feel it's completed? If I apply for jobs now and then have changes to my resume, will a less good version of my resume be floating out there forever? Yeah, it will be. So you need to be careful because for a lot of companies, once you put your resume in, that's it. And some will let you update it, but not all. And also, if you're applying for jobs online and you haven't done your resume, how do we know that you're putting the right information out there? It's really important that you get your resume figured out and you've got your brand figured out and you've got your LinkedIn profile optimized before you start doing all this applying, because it really can work against you. Yeah, I definitely would wait. It's so important. All right. Michelle says over on LinkedIn, I feel very defensive when family and friends ask me why I don't have a job yet. I'm applying every day. How can I respond without feeling defensive? I feel like they think I'm not trying. So first of all, there's so much going through my head when I read that, Michelle. I want to make sure when you say you're trying and that you're applying every day, if you've just been applying online, I think you've learned today in this session that that's not really looking for work. So I need to hear that you're really doing the networking part and that you're really targeting your efforts, okay? If you are doing the things that I talked about today, then what I would do is say to your friends and family, I need you to stop asking me that. I know you don't mean it this way. I know you're asking out of concern, but every time you ask me, it hurts my feelings. So I'm going to explain to you that I am being very proactive. I'm working every day on this. And I'm studying and using techniques. It is a very difficult time to find a job. But every time you ask me, it makes me feel worse. So can we talk about something else? And if they do ask you even after that, you want to say, I'm not going to talk about this with you because it's not productive to our relationship. You've got to set boundaries. I'll tell you, most of the time, people are just asking out of being kind, right? They feel like they want to, ask how you're doing. But if you're feeling like that's not the case, then you need to shut it down. People treat you the way you allow them to. And so you need to shut that down. And you're going, and then they're going to be awkward and they're going to be angry at me. Okay, but they also need to stop. So what's better? You feeling worse and worse about yourself or you putting your foot down? You got to decide what you want and you got to really speak up for yourself. Laura over on YouTube said, someone from a company views my LinkedIn profile that I'm interested in or applied for at a job at a company. Do I contact them? They don't know that I know. So you definitely can reach out to them. I just wouldn't say, Laura, hey, I saw that you looked at my profile, but I do think you can customize a connection request and tell them you'd love to share a story about why you feel so connected to the brand. Absolutely. You may not get a response back, but it doesn't hurt. Just don't mention that you saw that they looked at your profile. Yeah. Tiffany on LinkedIn says, hey, JT, is it ever a bad idea to apply to 2 different entry-level jobs at the same organization? My skills and passion align with 2 different positions at the same place, and I know I would be valuable. How do I apply to both without damaging my professional reputation? So actually, Tiffany, the best advice I can give you here is to reach out to the recruiter or the hiring manager at the company or even HR and ask them the simple question. I see 2 entry-level positions at your company. I'm really excited about both of them. It's hard to know if my skills are a better match for one or the other. Is it appropriate and okay for me to apply to multiple positions at your company? That is a valid reason to connect with recruiting and HR, and they will give you that answer, because sometimes it is okay and sometimes it isn't. So it's very wise of you to ask that question, and even wiser of you to, right after this session, reach out and get the right answer. That way you'll know and you won't break any rules. Okay? Awesome. Another question from LinkedIn. I've noticed despite the positions being freezed in the company, we are still getting the notifications for openings from the same company. And after applying, we are not getting a response. What to do in this situation? Okay. So I love this question. Folks, we are in what's called the second job apocalypse. And that means that pretty much almost every company in the country, at least here in the US, is restructuring. Now, restructuring can usually mean some form of layoffs, because somewhere in the restructuring, a department or a business unit or some jobs or functions are no longer necessary, and they want to free up funds to save money and then potentially hire elsewhere. So you're going to see so many companies right now announcing layoffs, and then you're going to see they're hiring at the same time. And everyone assumes, well, why would they be hiring if they're laying off? Because they can't just redeploy the people that are at the company. A lot of them don't have the skill sets they need. And so they need to release them in order to free up the funds and redirect. There isn't a single company out there that doesn't want to get back on track for growing, because every business model knows if it's not growing, it's dying. So companies have got to get themselves back to neutral and then focus on how they're going to grow. And that's why we're seeing a lot of layoffs right now, because companies have figured out their business model for the pandemic, at least for the near future. And they've got to, rectify their financial situation in order to start to grow again. So that's why you're seeing this. Now, these companies are collecting resumes because they eventually will be hiring again. And you're going to start to see, we always have cycles. Summertime always slows down because people are taking vacations, and that's no different. Even though people are doing staycations, they're taking time off. They're exhausted. But we'll come back into the fall, or once the school year starts up, and companies will be hiring again. And this will pick up over the next 6 months as companies finish their restructurings and start to move forward in their growth plans again. So don't be surprised by this. You won't get notifications, you won't get status updates, but you will see that there are jobs. Again, my advice is go around the system. Now is the time to build relationships with people at those companies, so that when they are hiring for those roles, you can actually tap into human beings as opposed to the online system. Okay? Raina on YouTube asks, how much time per day should I be spending on my job search, watching WID tutorials, working on resume, cover letter, etc.? So this varies for everyone. I do not believe that job search is a full-time job. I don't. Some coaches may say that. I don't. I believe that you need to do it every day, work it daily. And by that, I mean Monday through Friday. And I believe that you need to find the best period of time where you're the most alert. So you should devote your most alert hours to it. Some of us are morning people. Some of us are night people. What is the 2 to 4 hour window in your life where you are most in tune and can jam out the best work? And ideally, if you can commit 4 hours a day, but maybe your brain only works well for 2 hours, you're going to have to take a break they say anywhere from every 30 minutes to every 2 hours, you'll need a break anyways. But if you're pretty good from 4 hours, I would block that off. So for example, I'm a morning person. I'm up super early, and I can do my best brain work up until 12 noon. After that, I start to move into more office work. And after 3 p.m., my brain is not good for any creative work. It's just how I operate. So anything that's really, really important from a brain standpoint that requires my attention, I'm going to do it in the morning. That's just how that is. And you need to do that too. So the answer is work with your strengths, work with your points of clarity, carve out that time, and then plan what you're going to do every single day, Monday through Friday in those time slots, and give it your all. All right? All right, everyone. That was great. Thank you. So many wonderful questions here today. I really appreciate you coming to JT Talks Jobs. It's only as good as the people that attend, and you guys are amazing. Remember, pat yourselves on the back. You are working towards being part of the 3% Club, which is those people that are going to be informed optimists about job search and career development. The more you learn, the better you are. And then again, with that in mind, what are you waiting for? Come hang with us. $10. Only $10 to spend the whole day with myself, the head of coaching at Work It Daily, Ariella, and all of our coaches will be on staff that day. A full day training to jumpstart your job search next Tuesday, August 18th, okay? Only $10. And if you can't attend live, still sign up because we'll send you the recording. It's good for 7 days. It's a total game changer, I promise you. And we're so proud that we're able to deliver this training to all of you. So come join us. I really want to see you there, okay? All right, everyone. Thank you so much for stopping by. Stay safe, stay healthy. And remember what I always tell you, if you want to win, you got to work it daily.